So whether you're house hunting or you just love walking into new construction, you may have noticed that new construction and newer designs feel a little off. Well, you're not alone, and there's actually a reason for that I'm going to break down for you in this video as to why homes that were built in the last few years feel a little odd and kind of uncomfortable. Here's the thing, it's not bad craftsmanship, it's not really even the aesthetics themselves, but in fact, it's actually the way in which the house is laid out that makes you feel, as a human being, a little bit leery. There are 4 big changes that we've seen over the last few years, and that's going to include ceiling height, open layouts, lighting, and even hallways. Yeah, I bet you didn't think that, did you? I'm 𝗖𝘁 𝗨𝘀, local real estate agent here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the upstate of South Carolina. And I have walked hundreds of homes, and what I can tell you is homes built after 2010 have some glaring differences, and I started to notice a pattern. I'm actually going to be talking a little bit in depth on psychology, architecture, and even environmental design research, just to make sure that we are not crazy and what we're feeling is legitimate.
I am not crazy.
Let's start with the first part, ceiling height. That's right, ceiling height, and especially the cathedral ceiling effect. Now, before 2010, 8-foot ceilings were very normal. In fact, most homes that were built before 2010 here in the Carolinas were about 8 feet tall. Now, you might have some homes that stand out above the rest that have these gorgeous 9, 10, 11-foot ceilings, but to go beyond that was pretty rare, very rare. While today's new construction, most first floors are starting at 9, 10, 11 feet, and especially in the living rooms, 12 feet and sometimes more. Now, while personally I love the look and it gives an airy feel, there are some setbacks to this. When you combine large spaces with a tall ceiling, it's actually difficult to find your center. As a human, we do like to have cozy spaces. So if you've been feeling this when you walk into a home that, it's so airy and yet I don't know where I belong, you're not alone. In fact, the University of Melbourne did a study on spatial orientation and the good old cathedral effect. Here's what they found. Exactly what you're feeling is normal. Now, when you have really tall ceilings with open areas, it actually influences abstract thinking. That's right, thinking big, literally. But when you have lower ceilings, it induces focus and detail. This is why if you have an office space, you'd probably want more of a standard ceiling height between 8, maybe 9 feet, but not going beyond that because you're not going to be able to get down to the details of what you're doing. Now, here's where we went way wrong when it comes to builds after 2010. These huge ceilings, these 11, 12-foot ceilings and sometimes more, actually cause disorientation. And as I mentioned, I'm 𝗖𝘁 𝗨𝘀. I'm a local Charlotte real estate expert, and every day we're getting calls from people who are just like you, looking to make the move to the area. So if that's you, drop down into the description below. All of our contact information is there. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days across the world, the country, or just across town, we're here to make your move everything you want it to be. That's right, the study showed that not only does it increase disorientation, but it also increases restlessness. So if you've started to feel those feelings, this is probably why. You're not alone. A really good analogy for this would probably be going into a cozy coffee shop where you've got your favorite book, a nice mug of coffee, and a cozy sofa to sit on, but there isn't too much open space. In fact, you've got some things to break it up, not only the noises, but of course, the ceilings. The flip side to this would be trying to focus and feel comfortable in an airport terminal. Lots of windows, lots of open spaces, crazy tall ceilings that you're never going to feel fully comfortable and probably feel restless. Now, there is a time and a place for tall ceilings. When you have a home or a room that is smaller in square footage, let's say a really small living room or kitchen, it actually could be advantageous to have 9, 10-foot ceilings because the height of the ceiling will actually make that teeny little space feel so much bigger than it really is. But what you want to avoid is big space and big ceiling. Now, if you already have a home that's like this, or you're still interested in newer construction, but you want to avoid this challenge, there are some practical fixes for this. A lot of it has to do with how our body and of course our mind orients in the space. So here's a few quick fixes, or easy enough fixes without completely tearing down your house, that can make this possible. 1, you can put in pendant lights. Pendant lights are going to bring the focal point down and the lighting is coming down, which gives us the illusion that the ceiling is lower than it really is. When you have either recessed lighting or hi-hats in the ceiling, you're gonna see every inch of that ceiling. But especially in evening hours, if you have those lights lower, it's gonna be a lot easier for us to feel calm and secure. Another thing you can do, and this is actually gorgeous when I see this, there are some rooms that I've seen that have these beautiful vaulted ceilings with high pitches, but again, a little too tall. You could install beams, and in fact, if you have not ever thought about beams and maybe you think they might be too expensive, they actually make some really great faux beams on the market that are literally styrofoam. That's right, styrofoam that literally looks like wood, or they actually make one that's more of just a fascia. So it's all three sides and nothing in the middle, and you just plop it on up there. But this is going to give you some beams running through your home, potentially usually your living room, that's gonna bring that line of sight down and make you feel a little bit better. Another way that you can ground the space would be to go ahead and put crown molding. Now, this one is very small, I know, but the way crown molding works, it kind of rounds out those sharp edges on the ceiling, so it's gonna allow the ceiling to flow into the wall. Now, this one is probably gonna have the smallest bit of change, especially when compared with the other two, but hey, I'll take anything I can get, especially if it's gonna still get me new construction. Now, the second major change that we've seen between 2010 and now, or construction after 2010, has to do with walls, or really the lack thereof. Have you noticed that open living has become way too open, right? It used to just be the living room into the kitchen, so while you're cooking, you can still see what's going on in the living room where your family usually is sitting. Well, now it's turned into it's open to the dining room and the study and the sunroom and to the loft space. There's just a limit on walls. No one installs walls anymore. Now, while I still understand and I still truly enjoy the open space concept, this has become a bit of a challenge. Now, given the open concept surged after 2010 when we're talking about construction, the biggest issue has to do with sound bleeding. And what that means is you just can't escape the dripping faucet, or somebody using the blender, or the kids playing a board game in the living room, or your spouse on a phone call in the office space or the dining room. Everybody can hear everything all the time unless you're in your bedroom. And what that ends up causing is people wanting to be alone just because they need a little bit of silence, a little bit of quiet, and maybe just a little bit of privacy. When before 2010, you could find that just by walking into the formal living room or walking into the sunroom or other areas that were cut off from a main flow of not only sound, but also visual. Now, the Journal of Environmental Psychology did a study back in 2013, and this study was done on open office environments. You know, everybody sitting at one desk together, everybody making their calls and doing their work and going about their day in an open office environment. Well, here's what the study found. They found a 25% increase in stress hormones and fatigue due to noise and the lack of boundaries. That's right. They found that even if you just had to have a cubicle, it would still help you focus more and reduce the stressors. Now, I get it. Nobody wants to live in a cubicle, but what this does reflect is as we come into our home life and we have all of the noises and all the things that are happening, having that noise with the tall ceilings with no walls, there is no barrier to buffer those sounds. That means it increases our stress hormones at home and it increases our fatigue. You ever wonder why you're so gosh darn tired when you're doing the same thing that never used to tire you out? Well, the lack of boundaries and walls might actually be the problem. Now, being we have pinpointed that sound is the issue, there are some key things that you can do to buffer that sound and hopefully make your home feel a little bit more cozy, secure, and way less stressful. Number one, get some rugs in your home. Now, I'm a dog owner, I get it. There's certain rugs I just can't have, but if you get rugs such as Ruggable that can go in the washing machine, something easy that you know you can clean, but will also dampen all of that noise. Another thing that we've done is we've gotten away from putting carpets in the home, which, by the way, I'm a huge supporter of. But with that being said, the carpets used to dampen all that sound. Now we've got hardwoods or LVP with open walls. You get it, it echoes. So going ahead and getting rugs in your home is going to be one of the first best things that you can do, and it looks great. Now, along with rugs, let's talk about curtains. Yes, I am somebody who loves having open windows and plenty of natural light, but even just having curtains to the sides of your windows, not only does it give a beautiful aesthetic, but it also is going to dampen that sound, which is that whole purpose. I actually tested this theory when I first moved into my new office as the echo get-go was awful. I went ahead and installed a rug and installed a decorative wall behind me that would break up the sound, as well as curtains. And those three things together made it much better to be in that room, especially when recording video, just like these. A third thing you could do is install bookshelves, or just put bookshelves in your office or in your space. Now here's the thing, regular flat walls are going to reverberate sound, but if you put a bookshelf in with books and other things on it, it's actually going to break that sound up and it won't reflect right back off as quickly or as loud. So this could be a great noise dampening option. And of course, you want to get some furniture in these spaces. Oversized furniture can be great for dampening noise and breaking things up, especially throughout your home and in your office space. Now, I'm never gonna give up my open floor plan because I truly love it, but these key pieces will help, and it does feel a lot better knowing I'm not going crazy. The sound really does annoy me. So let's talk about light and circadian rhythms. That's right. Too much light might actually be a bad thing. Let's talk about it. Now, since 2010, builders have emphasized lots of natural light, big windows, plenty of LEDs in the ceiling. But here's the thing, our bodies and our minds actually crave a variety of different light sources. Now, there's been plenty of studies that have been done on LED lighting in and of itself, and there's a reason why incandescents are coming back on the market. In fact, LEDs are actually not good for us. I'm not going to go into the whole study on that because that could be a whole video in and of itself, but go take a look. LEDs can actually affect us, especially through our retina, which can disrupt our bodies and our minds. Now, on top of that, a lot of them are going with very white light. Now, of course, they're mimicking the sun, and that's great, but when you're inside at night trying to calm down and rest your eyes and rest your mind, having a bright 5,000 Kelvin light above your head is definitely not going to do it. Instead, you need different colors, ones with softer hues down into the 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin, which will calm the mind a little bit better. Now, let's get back to those windows. This is not something that you can easily change out, but what's the issue with it? I'll be the first one to vote. I want more windows in my house than less, and I love natural sunlight. However, there are some challenges with this. The Journal of Environmental Psychology did a study in 2015. With so many people having sleep issues, they wanted to get down to the bottom of it. So they did a full study on lighting, well-being, and sleep quality. And here's what they found. If you have a layer effect of light sources, you will actually feel better. That's right, multiple layered light sources such as some window natural light, some overhead light, as well as lamps with a variety of color variations and of course intensities is actually going to help you sleep better and feel better. Now, I don't know about you, but if I get a good night's sleep, I feel way better. But I also feel better when I'm in a space that has calmer, warmer light. Very similar to what we had way back in the caveman days when we would go to sleep by firelight. That's right, that warm light, that very warm yellow light. That is what our bodies are used to. So if you can dim it down in the evening and turn on those lamps with that warmer light, you're going to feel a whole lot better. So overall, the study unveiled that overhead LEDs, especially a lot of them with very white coloring, and an overuse of massive windows overstimulates during the day, bringing it all the way into that evening with that unnatural light, unnatural being the highlight, and this is going to cause poor sleep quality. But there are things that you can do. As I mentioned, you want to add warmer lights and lamps, put dimmers in your home, and put on some timers to some of those lights. Trust me, you don't need them on all the time. So now let's talk a little bit about hallways and transitional spaces. I bet you wouldn't ever hear someone saying hallways are a good thing. Well, here's what I'm here to tell you. It's a good thing. Now, while developers will call hallways wasted square footage, which goes right back to the whole open floor plan idea, psychologists have a different name for them. They call them mental reset zones. The Quarterly Journal of Experimental Psychology did a study in 2006. That's right, about 4 years before this massive changeover in how they did building. The study was called the doorway effect, and what it focused on was how the crossing of thresholds can actually reset memory and help shift focus. Think about this. You ever have that moment where you walk through a doorway and forget what you were doing, or walk through a doorway and suddenly remember what you were doing? Well, that's because that's how our brains work. These transition zones are actually essential to our functionality inside of a house and on a daily basis. So what did the study unearth? Well, I bet you probably already figured it out. No hallways equal no transition zones. No transition zones equals more tension, and in addition to that, you also get less privacy. All of these things combined are also added to the fact that you probably have an open floor plan, which has already increased your stress hormones, and you're probably feeling a bit uneasy because those ceilings are tall. Do you see how all this combined can make a very uneasy feeling space? Now, there are some ways to fix this without literally building walls and hallways, and you can do this by using specific types of furniture. We would call this a fake transition zone. Console table in the hallway, or maybe a bookshelf between the living and dining room. These are going to break things up and make you feel a little more calm as you're walking through your very open floor plan and I'm sure beautiful home. I actually had a client not too long ago who we were looking at very new construction, and we out of the blue decided, let's go take a look at this beautiful 1920s home. It was about 4,000 square feet. Yes, very big home for the 1920s. And while the ceilings were taller for 1920s, they were about 9 feet tall and maybe some of them reaching 10 foot. It was a beautiful Victorian. They mentioned to me that this actually felt more cozy and homey than the new construction did. Well, let's think about it. There was a few key features that this home had. It had hallways, transition zones. It had plenty of natural light, but also warm lamps. And it also had closed spaces. That's right, they had opened up the kitchen and the living room, but that's about the most when it came to updating of the walls. So you had the privacy. So while you had decent sized ceilings, you still had the cozy feeling of home, which is something that after 2010 just seems to be lacking. So here's the thing, high ceilings with an open floor plan, way too much light, and no hallways can make for a bad vibe. But here's the good thing. If you do want to own a newer home, it's okay. And there are easy fixes for this. Just make sure that when you buy what works for you. So out of curiosity, when was your house built? And how does it make you feel? Drop it in the comments below. So if you got value out of this video and you're looking to learn more about what it's really like living in Charlotte, North Carolina, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as I mentioned before, I'm Kayla Lindsay, your Charlotte, North Carolina real estate expert. Every single day, we have people who are just like you, looking to move to the Charlotte, North Carolina area and maybe just aren't sure where to start. Well, if that's you, drop down into the description below. All of our contact information is there. Whether you're planning on making the move in 9 days or 90 days, moving across the world, across the country, or just across town, we're here to make your move everything you want it to be. Until next time, I look forward to showing you around town. So you're making the move. There's a lot of videos that you can be watching, like this one right here, or maybe even this one. Really either one of these, but honestly, watch both of them because they're gonna help you make the move. Go ahead, pick one. They're both really good.